The plot twist is a device used in storytelling to introduce a radical change in the direction or expected outcome of the plot in a work of fiction, and is used to add suspense, mystery, and... Wait, aren't those two the exact same thing? In Attack on Titan, plot twists are used quite often. So often that I sometimes had to question whether or not Isayama was purposely trying to give his readers a cerebral... How do you say that word? A cerebral aneurysm. But there's a method behind the madness of these twists. A method, well actually methods, that Attack on Titan uses better than pretty much any type of media that I have seen. And that method is... the basement. This stupid ass, old ass, dusty ass place that was foreshadowed for, I don't know, 6 years. But let's be honest, I don't think any of us believed that it wasn't worth the wait. The basement reveal was masterful in every way, and it used so many genius elements in its creation. Something Attack on Titan uses for almost all of its plot twists is the method of covering up the twist itself, or at least the main twist, because there's so many goddamn twists in this show. Since I was just talking about it, let's use the basement as an example. Of all the twists in Attack on Titan, this was the one that took the longest to actually happen. It was foreshadowed from the first chapter and episode of the story, and was revealed just 85 chapters or 3 seasons later. At some parts of the story, you might have a strong urge to see what's really in the basement, but for most of the time you don't. And that's because you're so caught up with everything else going on. All the other plot reveals, the character moments, the deaths, the battles, the storytelling, the music, the artwork, literally everything. Because Attack on Titan has so many incredible things going for it, like pretty much everything I just mentioned, it covers up where the story is actually going, and what that does is allow you, the reader, to focus on what's in front of you instead of worrying about a potential plot twist in the future. Another example of this is the Reiner and Bertolt reveal, which was undeniably one of the greatest reveals in the whole show. Well, actually in anime, actually again in storytelling. But even if you and your tiny little brain managed to figure out who Reiner and Bertolt really were, the fact that just 2 episodes ago Ymir became a Titan, and the fact that up until the 6th episode of that season there was a massive battle going on, you didn't see it coming in that exact moment, especially because they said it so casually. Not to mention the reveal of the Beast Titan, the deaths of so many characters, and the fact that for the first time since the season began, our characters had a chance to breathe, and so did we. And then that turned out not to be the case. A less major my god. A less major example, but when Levi was on the brink of death and we didn't know if he was alive or not, Isayama takes the spotlight off of him completely and instead puts it towards the greatest climax of the entire story. By doing this, we almost entirely forget that Levi even existed, because what was going on at that time while Levi wasn't there was literally the greatest moment in the entire show. By using this method yet again, it covers up the fact that Levi isn't in the fight, pretty much covering up the fact that he even existed, because what was going on at that time was so unbelievably mind-blowing that we couldn't help but be engulfed in the present moment. By covering up what's to come, this story makes you literally only focus on what's happening in the present moment, and whenever something big like a plot twist happens, you're pretty much left speechless, and that happens every damn time. There are so many times in the story where Isayama does this, but I would say he even does it for the most controversial chapter in the entire story, chapter 139. Hey, okay, I know it was a weird chapter, but like, please just listen to me for a second. Because everyone constantly theorized so many things, like Eren complaining the rumbling or even Eren dying, just not in the way that he did, the actual ending came as a huge surprise to everyone. For some, it was a good surprise, and some, well, yeah. But within that chapter, there's yet another thing that Isayama reveals so subtly, and that's Eren's mom being killed by Eren himself. I think it's safe to say that this one came completely out of nowhere, but just like all the other twists in this story, it does actually make sense, at least somewhat. One tiny thing that was still left in the story that didn't make too much sense was the fact that Bertolt didn't get eaten by Dinah. Dinah was supposed to gobble the man up, just like she did with Carla and Hannes, but she didn't, because Eren made her go forward by using the Founding Titan's power. I'm gonna stop right there because going any deeper means I'm declaring war on some fans, so let's just move on, please. When it comes to writing a plot twist or anything for that matter, it's gotta make sense. That's the main premise behind trying to write something great. I don't know about you, but when I take pretty much any story-changing moment in Attack on Titan and look back to its foreshadowing, it almost always, if not always, makes so much goddamn sense. The most obvious example is the 2000 years thing with the title of episode 1 and episode 80, but that's been talked about so many goddamn times that I'm not even going to talk about it here. In 2009, I think, when Isayama first wrote this chapter, he had planned for Ymir Fritz to be implemented into the story, and about 10 years later, he does just that, but it gets way, way deeper. The moment that changed Attack on Titan forever was this. I've talked about this moment so many times in other videos because it truly was that masterful. This is peak, elite, just masterful. This moment was foreshadowed through so many subtle hints that when you look back on them, you wonder how you never saw this one coming. When Eren, Rod, and Historia are in the King of the Wall's base, Rod asked Eren if he remembers being there. This is like one of the most subtle foreshadowing moments towards Eren manipulating Grisha because it hints towards the fact that Eren has in fact been to the King of the Wall's base in the past, but it was actually his future self, which I'm gonna pretend makes sense. Also, in chapter 1, it's obvious that Grisha was looking at future Eren the whole time. This panel right here shows two odd figures standing in the distance, who I assume to be Eren and Zeke going through memories potentially.
Wait a minute!
And of course, Eren kissing Historia's hand to top it all off. This massive plot twist that changed the course of the show forever was prepared and foreshadowed from the very beginning, just like all the others. And that is how you create one of the greatest moments in storytelling. When it comes to the ending, it's not like it wasn't also foreshadowed like all these other things. Isayama may have changed his ending while writing the story, but one thing was inevitably planned from the very start, at least in the manga. In the first chapter of the manga, a moment in Eren's dream is shown to us. That moment turned out to be what actually took place in chapter 138. It also happened to take place 11 years later. Like, what the actual a plot twist being foreshadowed. It's just so important that I cannot even bring into words how important it really is. Did that sentence even make sense? If you are telling a story and out of nowhere a twist comes, out of nowhere a plot changing moment comes completely from nothing, then that's kind of exposing yourself to the fact that you didn't plan for this and you're forcefully turning the story in a different direction. But by adding foreshadowing like Attack on Titan does, or at least even a little bit less than Attack on Titan does, because it's very hard to match it, you allow the reader to understand that this was planned all along, and it's what allows the reader to consider the author a genius, as I've done many times with Hajime Isayama, at least until chapter 139. When something as crazy as Reiner or Bertolt's betrayal is revealed, when something as crazy as Eren manipulating Grisha, or the basement, or Eren's coordinate ability, or the rumbling, or then there will usually be a sense of shock or massive surprise when you're watching or reading it. But there should be more than that. You should be able to establish connections with past events that happen in the story. This is somewhat tied into the foreshadowing thing that I just mentioned before. But if you are able to make connections to this narratively changing moment, it just makes it all the more mind-blowing. Let me explain. So you know when you're watching something and something crazy happens and you just have that "what the hell did I just watch" type reaction? That reaction is because this plot moment revolves around so many other factors that otherwise wouldn't have made sense had it not been for the twist. I mentioned this before, but there's so many like subtle moments in Attack on Titan. I mentioned this example before, but it's when Rod asked Eren if he remembers being at the King of the Wall's base. That subtle moment made absolutely no freaking sense to the person watching. But once the moment is revealed that Eren was actually there in the past, then everything adds up. You begin to connect the dots. Again, when Ymir Fritz is revealed, and when it's revealed that Ymir has been waiting in the past for 2,000 years, that connection with the title of the episodes is made, and it just makes for, again, that what the hell did I just watch type reaction. And that's what having a connection to the plot twist allows it to do. The best example I can give of this is when Reiner escapes Annie's hand. That moment was hella sus for like everybody watching, and some people dismissed it, but some people kept it in the back of their minds. Either way, when they went back to the flashback and Armin was explaining how Reiner actually managed to escape Annie's hand, things began to add up and things began to, you guessed it, connect. And it's that connection I'm talking about that makes for such an incredible plot twist. And again, that Reiner Bertolt moment was so unbelievably breathtaking because of the amount of connections that were made. The fact that they always hung out with Annie, the fact that they always looked for Eren, the fact that Reiner didn't follow certain orders, and the fact that he broke out of her hand, like I mentioned. All of these things are all connections that tie into the big plot twist that was their ultimate betrayal. Everything previously mentioned in the video has been quite important to writing the perfect plot twist. But just like with anything in a story, it doesn't matter how well you build it up. If you can't execute, then it's a failure. But Attack on Titan executes so goddamn well, I cannot even put into words. Bro, how many times you're gonna say that? So the last and most important thing is the execution of that moment, of the moments of the plot twist. You see, let's take the Reiner and Bertolt betrayal yet again as another example. In my opinion, there couldn't have been a better time to reveal Reiner and Bertolt's true identities, because the moment they were actually revealed, it was the perfect time. You see, it had been about 4 years since the first season, and we just recovered from a brand new season of chaos, a new intelligent Titan that looked like a gorilla, Ymir's true identity, Historia's real name, Connie's backstory, a Titan being in the wall, and just so much more. What does the show do? It gives us a bit of breathing room. We're chilling on the wall, and then this happens. A moment that tops all of what just happened combined into a single moment. And that is why that moment is created in the perfect time. Why, had it been any later or any earlier, this plot twist would have changed the direction of the story completely. And that's the significance of timing and execution within a plot twist. Had their identities been revealed in the future, or had Reiner actually not spoken to Eren in that moment, then their identities would have been discovered, as they were already speculating that fact. And if their identities were discovered, then the Titan shifters would be taken and the entire story would just go to complete waste. It was executed at that moment. That is why it made for such a crucial moment in the story, and a moment where we couldn't help but hold our breaths. Of course, the music was truly sensational, and of course the voice acting was some of the best the show has to offer, and that's all just something Attack on Titan nails every single time, so I don't really even have to talk about it. Let's talk about the significance of Eren manipulating Grisha, because had this moment not happened, a lot would have changed. Eren just wouldn't be cemented as a much more menacing villain from that point. You see, it was the perfect moment to truly cement Eren as the antagonist of the story. Okay, not antagonist, guys. Villainous protagonist, okay, I know. But it was at that point where we were considering that Eren maybe sorta kinda would have gone back to the side of the Survey Corps. God, I keep saying corpse wrong. It was at that moment where we thought Eren could be going back to Mikasa and Armin's side, or whether or not he would go on his own direction. And of course he went on his own direction, but he went on a completely radical direction that we were not expecting. You see, Eren decided to destroy the entire world. And if that happened without Eren manipulating his father, it would kind of seem like an extremely radical decision for Eren to make. Except by being revealed to us the fact that he was the one behind all of the chaos that started the story, it now makes sense that he was the mastermind from the very beginning. And doing something like destroying the entire world, well 80%, doesn't seem like something out of character, because that moment happened and because he was cemented as Mr. Black Air Force Energy, the great Eren Yeager himself. How come in Attack on Titan you can predict something happening, but then when it happens, you're still left in a state of complete shock? It's because of the execution of the actual moment. The voice acting, the animation, the music, everything about the moment is so important. But it's not only that, it's just the way that it's revealed. Sometimes in Attack on Titan, plot twists aren't generically revealed. They're revealed to us in such weird ways, and the most obvious example of this is the Reiner and Bertolt betrayal for like the 4th time in this video. But that reveal was so subtle that no matter whether or not if you knew it was coming or not, the way it came was just like, wait, is this actually happening right now? And that's what makes for such incredible execution of Attack on Titan's plot twist. In every possible way, Attack on Titan is able to create some of the most revolutionary, crazy, brilliant, and they are all truly a sight to behold. By using these 4 things that I talked about in this video, Attack on Titan is the perfect example of how to write the perfect plot twist.